Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee. We're here at the Family Crisis Center offices right here in Spirit Lake. I have John McMahon here with me. He's the development specialist for the Family Crisis Center. John, thanks for being with me.
You bet, Jeff. Always a pleasure with you.
Let us talk about just a little bit of what the mission of Family Crisis Center is.
Sure. Yeah, so our mission is pretty simple, Jeff. We seek to help and provide service to victims of crime and survivors of crime.
Yes.
So we serve victims of all kinds of crime, any crime really. We have major divisions that serve victims of homicide and other violent crimes, and another major division that serves victims of domestic violence. We also do a lot of work with victims of human trafficking. We don't have a particular division for that, but we work with victims of that as well.
Right.
But really any crime, even though we have particular divisions for those, we work with victims of any crime.
Yeah. And, I think the big word in there is family, and when you deal with these crimes, to have somewhere to, sometimes you don't know where to go.
Yeah.
And Family Crisis Center certainly helps in that area.
Yeah, and even that word victim, Jeff, can often lead to sort of a narrow view of what that is. So when we think about the victim of homicide, for example, we think about the person who tragically lost their life.
Right.
And that is the primary victim there, and unfortunately at that point there's not much we can do for that person.
Right.
But the list of victims goes on from that. So it's anyone who witnesses that crime, anyone who's traumatized by that in any way, who lost a loved one, who lost a friend, or as I said, it is in any way traumatized by that, becomes a victim of that event.
Yes.
And our services are available for them as well.
Yeah, and when we think of, right here in Dickinson County, Northwest Iowa, we don't think about homicide a great deal, but you and I just a couple weeks ago were together and you were talking about statistics for domestic violence, and that's not a long ways away. That's not in Des Moines. That's not in metro areas. We have it right here.
Yeah, that happens in every community, Jeff. And the National Coalition for Domestic Violence estimates that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men is a victim of domestic violence. So, if you apply those numbers to Dickinson County, we've got roughly 17,000 people in Dickinson County.
Right.
And if you break that down by gender, if those statistics hold true in this area, then we would have just over 2,000 men who are victims of domestic violence and nearly 3,000 women who are victims of domestic violence.
Yeah, anytime you're in a large gathering, if you just start looking at a group of 4 people and think one in those 4 could be a victim.
Yeah. And that's the shocking thing too. A lot of people don't know that we're here in this area. They don't know that domestic violence is happening to the extent that it is. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month,
right.
and we're really working in this area to bring awareness to this. But for a lot of people, they don't feel like they've been touched by that because they don't know that they know someone who's suffering in that. They may have heard stories, but they can't say they know someone. But I think for all of us, we might be surprised to know that people that we know and have no idea they're going through that are.
Yes.
And a lot of times the picture we have of someone suffering domestic violence, is sort of the old, a woman walking down the street with a black eye, for example. And that certainly is an example of domestic violence, but it just scratches the surface for what domestic violence is. So the victims of domestic violence, they look just like you and me.
Yeah.
They look like people who are happy when we see them and living a totally normal life. But the story that's happening behind closed doors or when no one else is watching is an entirely different story.
Is there an amount of, and maybe in a smaller community, shame that I can't have anybody know this is going on with me?
Yeah. That's a big part of it. Anyone who's going through that, there is some shame that's part of that they don't want people to know. A lot of times that is internalized, and it's crazy. It's hard for us to understand the way the mind either of an abuser or the abused works.
Right.
And a lot of the victims internalize that, and they feel that somehow it's their fault, and or it becomes normal to them that this is just
this is
normal
my life. This is the way it is, and they can make excuses for the person abusing them, or maybe they're worried about, if I get away, how am I going to afford to live? How can I take care of our children?
Right.
And all that sort of. So there's a great deal of fear, and like you said, well, maybe he always says, or she always says, I wouldn't do this if you wouldn't do this, say that, or whatever. And all those things compiled make for a secrecy that's bringing abuse into their life.
Yeah. And you mentioned the key idea there that a lot of times in those situations, there isn't even an idea that there's a path towards something better.
Yes.
And a word that we use a lot in our work is hope. What we want to bring to people in so many ways is hope. Hope that there is a better life and a better way. But a lot of times people just can't see that. And so that's a lot of what our advocates do with them, is help to look and see, what are the options here?
Yes.
And sometimes there's options available to people that they had no idea were there because they just couldn't see it through the situation that they're in.
Yeah, people can't see, but and you can see it behind us, but you've got all these place cards here with a date and how old they were. I was 41, I was 33, I was 36, I was 47. What are we seeing examples of here, John?
Yeah, so all of these cards that are on the walls in here are commemorating people who have been murdered or killed as a result of domestic violence. So a lot of times we think of domestic violence as something that affects someone's life, but in too many cases it becomes that thing that takes their life.
Yeah.
And so since 1995, right here in the state of Iowa, 386 people have lost their lives as a result of domestic violence. So each one of these cards commemorates those people. And so it gives the date that they lost their life and the age they were then. And so, as you said, when you look around, it becomes pretty powerful to think that these are all Iowans who have lost their life as a result of domestic violence. And we don't have to look very far. These are all statewide, 386 of these on the walls. They're all statewide.
Yeah.
But we don't have to look very far to find some of these that happen very near to us.
Yes.
So towns like Milford and Spirit Lake and Esterville and Groover, it's happened very close to us.
Yeah. You mentioned that not a lot of people, we're doing this in part to let people know the Family Crisis Center is here, and that's why we've discussed your mission and these different things. And how can people find out more about Family Crisis Center? I know you're doing a ribbon cutting. You've partnered with Hy-Vee and Fairway. You're doing different things. We're here. We're here to help you.
Yep. So we've been in this area providing advocacy services for about 10 years now. But one of the realities of crime, and particularly of domestic violence, which we're focusing on this month, is it happens very much under the radar. As we talked about, a lot of people don't know it's happening, and people don't know that our work is happening. So there's a couple of great things about our services. One is that they are entirely free to victims, and the other is that they're entirely confidential. Yeah. So our advocates really can't even be compelled in court to talk about the things that they're doing with victims. And that's really for the protection of all involved. And so our advocates are not out screaming from the hilltops, I worked with this person and this is what we did for them. And so a big part of what we're doing these days is really trying to raise awareness, bring awareness to the reality of domestic violence, the sad reality of homicide as a result of domestic violence.
Right.
But more than anything right now, that idea of hope, that FCC advocates are available right here in Dickinson County to help anyone who's in any one of those situations. And so lots of things people may have seen through the course of the last few weeks at several of the coffee shops in the area. There have been little stickers on coffee cups bringing attention to October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and also Family Crisis Center presence here.
Right.
We're thrilled to be working with Hy-Vee and Fairway, who are each providing opportunities for people here in our area to contribute to our mission. So at Fairway, starting today, they're doing a roundup campaign at all of their registers when people are buying groceries. And at Hy-Vee, through the entire month, there's the opportunity. It's not exactly a roundup, but at the register, there's information there, and there's the opportunity to make a contribution to FCC.
Yeah. I think the biggest part I'm taking away here, John, is people who may feel they're trapped. Trapped is not the word. Hope is the word.
Yeah.
And that's what Family Crisis Center does.
Yeah.
So, if people want more information, the ribbon cutting, tell me about that.
Yeah, so we're excited. It's not often so much of what we deal with is sad and tragic. So it's nice when we can talk about things that are really happy, and when we connect people with resources, that's something that makes us really happy. We're thrilled to have this space now in Spirit Lake. So we're in the EXP Realty building in Spirit Lake. We've got an office there. We're excited to be doing a ribbon cutting with both the Iowa Great Lakes Chamber and the Spirit Lake Chamber tomorrow here at noon. And so we certainly want to invite everyone in the community to come join us for that. It's a significant development in family crisis centers growth, but it's also a significant development for this community. So it becomes not just a place, but it becomes a symbol of hope for those people who in our community are suffering with domestic violence, and it also becomes a symbol of a movement that we're beginning here to really spread the word and to send a message to the victims here that while we might not know exactly who you are, we know that you're here.
Yeah.
And as a community, we're going to wrap our arms around you and tell you we love you and provide the support you need to get through the tough situation that you're in.
And in a safe way.
And in a safe way.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. Well, John, I appreciate your time. Thank you for the commitment, not only yourself, but Family Crisis Centers, what it brings to our communities here. And we just want to remind people if you yourself are in a situation, you know of somebody, there is hope. No one's trapped. Family Crisis Center is here to help you and show you a path for a safe life. So, John, once again, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet. John McMahon here with me again, development specialist here with the Family Crisis Center right here in Spirit Lake. We thank John for his time. We thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast.
Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by West Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. The headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.